I watched Industry on HBO Max. And that is not a positive relationship-y type of show.
Not really.
The brief description is, young bankers and traders make their way in the financial world in the aftermath of the 2008 collapse. And that doesn't really set the tone that it's in England. So it's not like, some of the Too Big to Fail or like, the meme stock ones that I watched. This one was pretty interesting because I'm not totally familiar with how the other exchange markets or other money things work, and England's a particularly interesting setting. So there's 3 seasons right now. They're all 8 episodes. The main cast is Myha'la, who you may or may not know from other amazing projects. There was, what was the podcast one that she did? There's an episode of like Black Mirror. That's where I first tuned into her, and I'm like, where are her eyebrows? There's like 4 sprigs coming out. What's happening? But that's like her style. She's been in a bunch of other things. But watching her progress over this series, I actually got to watch the eyebrow progress over like 4 years. So it's pretty interesting. And the rest of the cast, Marisa Abela plays like the kind of best friend / other trader who's got her own personal drama. So both of these 2 main characters come into this series with baggage, like Louis Vuitton / duffel bag baggage. Both of them have different kinds of baggage, and it gets kind of dirty throughout this whole series between them being, young up-and-coming 20-somethings in a money business. They're around everything, so they indulge, and all of it goes terribly. So it's a little bit like if Euphoria, all of that cast stayed together, grew up, and then went to work together later, because they're all bad news for each other. You don't want any of them to get together, or who they get with, or the decisions that they make, or how they're backstabbing each other. It's, it's lots of drama. There's no real, top of the pyramid that you're worried about that person's really going to upset something. Everybody's got their demons, and everybody goes through, wild tribulations through these seasons. Plus, then also we're dealing with money markets, so there's, $1 million fluctuations per episode, where people's lives come crashing down, and then they rebuild. And you're like, that was a 40-minute episode? How did you do that?
Yeah.
So, as far as, an exciting TV series, I think it just wrapped up at season 3, and I'm pretty sure where they left off was having binge-watched all 3 seasons in, a week.
Oh, wow.
It is now set up for a season 4. A lot of the characters that were, knocking things over or didn't have their direction yet, they've really got a path now. They've really, figured out some problems, and they're working on them, or they're leaning into them, whichever way they went. So I'm excited about another season. Probably be 9 months before we get it, because this just wrapped, and it was doing a slow rollout of episodes, and it just wrapped at the end of September. So I would imagine we're probably not getting it till the next summer. But I would recommend it, and it is very dramatic, and there is adult scenery. So it's not like your usual Netflix where you might get a butt. This is just oh, well.
Oh, you mean full nudity?
He's erect.
What?
That's a terrible character, and you're showing us him do the terrible thing that gives this character all the reason for hate inside of her, and that's a bad dude. Okay, great.
Wow. Now I'm intrigued.
I didn't need all of that, and most of the time I don't need any of the stuff you're giving me, but whatever, you're going for it.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
adults version of television.
Okay, so I have a question, because I watched season 1 and 2 with my husband, Eric, and we have not dipped into season 3, because you have not undersold that they are very dysfunctional, not super nice, likable.
Nope.
There's nothing really fun or light going on.
Every smile has a devious side to it in that show. There's no one who's just ever happy, period.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I will say a lot of good guest star stuff happened in the first 2 seasons. And I know that Jon Snow is the major guest star of this 3rd season. So
From
Kit
Game
Harington.
of Thrones, yeah.
I'm like, why am I calling him Jon Snow? That's not his name.
Yes.
That's his main character that people know him from. But yes, Kit Harington is in this 3rd season. So would you recommend? Because it was really hard to watch, because everyone is just making the worst choices all the time. And also the salesmanship element of it is so uncomfortable. You just feel so manipulative and scummy and blah.
I can tell you, if you left off at season 2, you are leaving off with 2/3 of the sandwich. You don't have at least what they're doing with the show yet. They are really unraveling these characters slowly over these 3 seasons. This 3rd season culminates almost every single character, either with an exclamation point or a period. And sometimes that's oh, damn. All right, that's what you did. But That's the ride I've been on for 2 whole seasons. So this 3rd season is actually really, it's worth watching if you put the time in on the first 2. And the first 2 are already challenging to watch because of the content that they're giving you and the character path that you're following. You're like, I don't know if I want that to be successful. But if you're binge watching it like I did, instead of slowly rolling it out or having to think about it for 9 months in between where you can like crystallize some of these opinions, it is not enough of a big problem for any of these characters over a season by the time you get to the 3rd season. There's so much that unravels in this 3rd season about the 2 main characters and at least the other 4 mains that they are dealing with throughout the rest of the series. So, like, one of the main heads of their business stuff.
The head of their department.
Yeah. Ken Leung is doing a great job at playing someone who is unclear on how much he will lean into the bad side of the business. He knows that he wants to lean into the bad sides of the business, but he also wants to keep his real life separate from that. He's done it for so long. Season 2 starts to break that. Season 3 is where it's broken. He might be one of the periods that I feel like is, oh, he got a period at the end of that season. It's going to be hard for him to figure out a new path. Everybody else has got like, where are they going? Oh, you're doing that? Uh-oh. So season 3, it's like a second act where all that stuff just, oh, wow, those dominoes are, I didn't even know that was dominoes you were setting up. Oh, yeah. So season 4 will be a great payoff. Season 1 and 2, yeah, I would agree with you. Those were real challenging, especially if you had to wait to watch them.
Yeah, I felt like it was difficult to watch the way we were watching it, which was very much like one at a time, because this is HBO/Max.
Right.
So now you could watch it more in a binge model, which is probably helpful because we watched it over the course of it coming out. So it was a slow roll and kind of difficult, and you didn't get to move through it as quick, and maybe that would have helped.
It does.
But now that the whole season 3 is out, maybe we'll jump into it.
And, I'm not going to suggest this because it's what I would do, but by the time season 4 comes out, enough time will pass for me. I will rewatch all of that in another week. I will re-binge all of those seasons again and get the full, week-long story of a soap opera.
Yeah.
That's really what it amounts to. It's like 2 weeks of a soap opera. Wow. If they were doing this on soap operas...
Soap operas, ugh, yeah. Okay, great. Awesome, Eddie. So I will maybe revisit that.
You should.
I was intrigued by
You're
the
already
characters.
invested in 2 seasons.
I know. They're just such disasters.
Oh, and that's just it. I knew that that's what that show was. It wasn't Succession. Maybe they're going to figure it out. Maybe you're kind of somewhere in the middle of you want that family to not be total idiots and torpedo themselves. Mm-hmm. Season 1 and Season 2, you're like, I don't care if any of you torpedo yourselves. You're all jerks. So some of that payoff is like, oh, you did torpedo. Oh, that's why that was happening? Well, you didn't give us that last season, so I didn't know. I had an opinion. But overall, yeah, I would still recommend watching it because even though on that slow rollout, this 3rd season really starts to pay off a lot of that first 2 difficult seasons.
I will revisit it, I think, based on your review.